We have patron shout outs this time.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, because we got patrons. I got patrons. Oh my gosh. We, the Mud Peddlers, has patrons. All right, so today we're going to be talking about tips for marketing an online sale. And part of the reason that we are talking about this today is because, well, we just went through the biggest commercial time, marketing and purchasing time of the year.
Yep.
And there were a few people who I saw online who were like, well, I'm not really good at marketing, but I made a new thing. Or it's like, I don't know, it just kind of seems like, especially if you're new to selling your work or you're used to selling your work at like in-person events. And of course that's changed because of COVID.
Yeah.
Then these are some kind of basic tips, some things that I do, some things that you do that are better than nothing. So if you feel like I have no idea how to market, this is, hopefully we'll walk away with some practical tips.
Yeah, granted, I'm not like a marketing expert or anything, but
Neither of us are.
Yeah, but I do understand to a certain extent, like, the things I need to do in order to stay relevant in the social eye so that they see my product, so that they want to buy my products. Most marketing really isn't you having, I mean it is, but it isn't really you having an awesome product and then people buying it. It's you letting them know you have a product and then giving them slight reasons as to why they want that product or not.
Yeah.
That's mostly it, to be honest. And then you have to come up or give reasons as to why. You remember those really late night commercials where they make up problems? Or like,
oh, I love those.
Do you have problems getting cereals out of your cabinet? And
then it shows like white people like fumbling with like boxes and stuff.
They're like, I don't know how brand works.
Yeah.
A cascade of effing Honey Nut Cheerios on their face. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Does this ever happen to you?
Is this ever? Yeah.
And you're like, no. I've never had that happen to me. It's a little bit like that, but they clearly over-exaggerate it, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, hey, do you like ceramic artwork? I have it. I make it. Here's all the details about it. Here's where you can get it.
Yeah.
That's most of marketing. The thing is that the more people's eyes you have on you in general, the more you can let them know about that portion of it. And that's really the cycle. That's the funnel that goes on with marketing.
Yeah. And I think one of the areas where it's, at least I know for myself, sometimes I'll still get stuck on this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, so people can say, oh yeah, like market your work, get your work out there. But then it's kind of like, okay, what do I actually say?
Yeah.
So it's like, I of course, I made a list. So.
Did you check it twice? He said the word.
Shots! Oh my god, what would a Mud Peddlers drinking game look like? I don't even know, but drink responsibly, guys. Okay, so one of the, I guess I put this under the umbrella of creating excitement. So it's like when you're gonna do an update, the biggest thing is, okay, I gotta, like you're saying, let people know about it and create some excitement around like, oh, there's this thing that's gonna be coming out.
Yes.
So one of the biggest ways that you can do that is simply just talking about your work. So your part of what that entails is like telling its story, telling your story. So some questions you can ask yourself are, as I read from my list, what was just talk about the process. Like, what was, we're gesticulating wildly for our dear listeners who are wondering why we are giggling right now. So you can ask yourself, what was the process of making this piece? You could talk about this in a post, in a reel, in a story, and I'm mostly talking about Instagram because that's the social media platform I'm most like consistent on.
Yeah, that's the new Facebook for me.
Yeah. Pretty much. Eventually, we'll all get more onto TikTok, but I'm lagging on that game. But
I'm just not creative enough to like make videos every day for you. I'm sorry.
That's
like,
a lot.
It's a lot of production. I already have a YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can also see like, okay, was there maybe like a new glaze that you're using? Are you exploring a new idea? You can just ask yourself like, okay, why do I like what I've made? Why did I make this thing in the first place?
Right.
And just kind of talking about that, because I think there's, I have bought pieces. Actually, okay, so funny story. When I was at Fanime it was SAC Anime. Anyway, I was at an anime convention a few years ago. One of those. And I had made a Fujoshi mug. And
could you?
Yes, I'll explain.
I'll explain.
We'll have an explanatory comment.
Thank you.
Moment. Yes.
I don't have no idea.
Oh yeah, no.
I just want her to say. I just want her to tell me what it is. I would never.
So my understanding, because again, I'm not an expert in this stuff. My understanding is that Fujoshi means like rotten girl, and it's usually used to describe people, or usually women, or I guess female presenting people. Anyway. used to describe people who like reading or watching yaoi, which is like men loving men. So whether it's like manga, whether it's an anime, that's basically a fujoshi is somebody who likes that kind of anime or manga.
They're women who like gay porn.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's usually what that is. It's usually marketed towards women. It's not usually marketed towards like other gay men. It's
like
usually
just general public. It's like this. You clearly want this.
Yeah,
females.
Yeah. Like it's like if any of y'all have seen like Youre on Ice.
It's a great anime.
Such a good anime.
I hate it.
It's so good for like a sports anime. It's beautifully animated, but it's also like like low key. It's like it's about two men who like clearly have a connection with each other. So. Anyway, I was talking to someone who had no idea what a fujoshi was, but I talked to her about it and I explained the process of how I came up with the design and how I liked the idea of using, looking at Rococo architectural styles because that style of architecture is totally over the top. It's like, lots of, flourishes and like floral patterns and like, anyway, it's just this crazy over-the-top architectural style, and I use that as a basis for designing my fujoshi stamp. Mm-hmm. She did not know what a fujoshi was going into this conversation, and she wasn't even a huge fan of like yaoi, but she bought this cup because of how I talked to her about. She was like, wow, that's a cool story. I would like to buy this cup. And I'm like, really? Like, I wasn't even expecting that she would buy it.
I told you this mug is... I just told you exactly what it is, and you were like, I'm down?
Yeah. Yeah.
I respect it.
Right?
I respect it.
Yeah. So I think that can speak to the power of storytelling, and if you can talk about your piece, that can give someone an impetus to buy it when they might normally not have.
Yeah, a lot of people are more like, I know I've said this on the channel before, but there's definitely like visual learners, auditory learners, physical learners, kinetic learners, spatial learners. There's definitely a group of people out there who are more emotional based in their learning style. Like if you can really connect some type of feeling to what you're trying to teach them or what you're trying to tell them, they're way more involved.
Yeah.
And I think those people generally like to hear the story about why and how something became, especially if you're the one who made it. Yeah. You're right about that. Yeah. It's, people like me are like, I made the thing, buy it. But there's definitely definitely a group of people out there who are like, oh my god, it means so much because you went through this experience. Oh my god.
You say that like that's a bad thing, Donte.
I'm not saying it like that because it's a negative thing, but that is what they do be sounding like though. That's exactly what they sound like.
Oh my god, I love Chipotle.
Oh god.
I do love Chipotle.
I love Chipotle. Chipotle is good. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of hear what you're saying. Like, yes, there is kind of
stereotype.
There's that stereotype, but there is a middle ground. And then that is a good point to say that like you don't necessarily do a lot of storytelling about your individual pieces necessarily, but your brand is strongly connected to your personality on YouTube and on social media. Yeah. So it's kind of like people buy your work because they know you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's like, that can be a part of talking about, of creating that hype, is either talking about the pieces themselves or talking about like just yourself or just being yourself.
I think for me, it's always a space of, because I know the very stereotypical YouTuber thing and Twitch streamer thing right now is to overhype everything, and I find that so disingenuously cheesy that I try not to do it. I try and be very direct with my clientele, like, hey, I made this thing, it's coming out at this time. This time we're concentrating on this type of thing. This is what we're doing. If you want to buy it. It's made with this clay, it's food safe, XYZ.
Yeah.
But I don't think I ever imagine a world where I'm going to be like, new store update, baby, let's go!
Oh, God.
Let's f***ing go! Oh, my God, poggers! Oh, sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends!
Oh, my God, Shadow! I know about that. I'm not even cultured.
You know what I'm saying?
Although Cody had to explain to me what it was.
A small part of me fears that I'm going to try to market myself in that fashion and sooner or later become disingenuous. There is a higher, not even higher, there is a different dimension of me that says like, I don't know, that to me sounds like I'm adopting a personality in order to sell you a product, and I don't want to do that because in my mind, if I have to, and this is a strong line here, don't take it as 100%, take it with a grain of sugar. But in my mind, if you have to hide or adopt a different personality in order to sell your product, then that makes you closer to the line of sell out than not. Where like if I have to lie to you with my personality to sell you a product, my brain goes, I'm hiding my true self in order to sell you an item. And I wouldn't call that a sellout innately, but I would say if there was a line, it's definitely closer to the line than being your genuine self.
Yeah, and I hear you there, and I think that's actually a lot of the concern that I've heard and like seen from other people is people are like, well, I know that I need to market stuff, but like I feel like I'm being disingenuous, or I feel like I'm.
It's a large fear for me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, my thoughts on that, or at least like what I try and tell myself when I get worried about that too, is that it always seems like we are more present on social media from our own perspective than it is for other people.
Yeah, true.
Because it would take a lot to like have to spam, people to have them feel like you're as much a part of their life as we are a part of our own lives, which makes sense because we're ourselves.
I get it.
So it's like
the amount of effort you're putting in, you're like, I must be bugging them, but really they're just like clicking off your story every 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, I think if you are a person who is not inclined towards that in the first place, you're probably not gonna end up coming across like that person just because that is so far removed from like who you are. Well, unless you are explicitly interested in creating a separate online personality, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, I'll say this, and then I have a question for you afterwards, right? Yeah. So I have but I think I've talked to you about this before, where I know a person that sells products online. They're not a potter, really, but they're like a staunch conservative.
Okay.
Like, they're like as far right as you can go. Yeah, they're like
QAnon status?
Yes.
Ooh,
yeah, right?
Okay.
But people still buy his stuff, and I've always wondered because the type of things he sells usually fall in the interests of stereotypically the left.
Yeah.
You know? And I always wonder, and I had a conversation with him one day, I won't say his name, won't say what he sells, anything like that. And he's like, well, yeah, but I have to hide my political alignment in general because then I would lose a lot of my clientele. Like, I have to hide a lot of what I think about social movements, what I think about BLM, what I think about presidencies, what I think about, and I'm like, you're a sellout. And he's like, no, what? And I was like, yeah, you're a sellout. You're hiding those things for money. And he's like, I'm not a sellout. I'm like, the money sold you, man. You sold. That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't. I called him a sellout because me and him argue all the time. But I meant to offend him, to be fair.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that's innately a sellout, but I would say that it's definitely higher on the scale than something that I would like to go towards. I generally don't want to. If you start out selling to friends and family to get yourself out there to get more of a confidence boost because they want to support you, they're friends and family, then I think the higher tiers would be to the point where you understand that if you let a portion of your personality out online that people are not going to like, and that would lower your sales. For me, that goes, you're hiding your real self in order to make money. Give it all to me.
Okay, so
if they don't like you for who you are they really fans though?
I would push back on that, and I know this is a little bit of a side conversation, so I want us to get back to at some point.
I need to stop talking because I'm dying over here.
Yeah, I'm hearing.
You can hear it?
Yeah, I'm hearing you having to.
For anyone who's wondering what's going on, I've woken up for the last 3 days with anaphylactic shock with like really bad hives, so you can see my face a little bit puffy, but my throat's a little bit closed, so if I sound a little bit weird, that's what that's from. Yeah. Just ignore it.
Yeah. Well, on a, I guess continuing on that kind of side note of talking about selling out, because again, this is a little bit of a different conversation, but I also would say that I don't think we are obligated to show our full personalities online, because I think that is a part of our, like, we choose how we present to the world every day anyway, and I don't think the world is entitled to every part of our personality. Like, because there are things that I would probably have fun making. Yeah. That I, like, for me, even making the Fujoshi mug was a big step.
Really?
Because I'm thinking, like, okay, conceivably, there could be people out there who really, don't like that or find that, like I don't want my brand to be, even though I'm a very, like, I consider myself a pretty sex positive person, I don't want my whole brand to be about, oh, Lindsay, the flirty, like, sex positive, haha, type of, like, person. So I choose the style of things that I make based on how I want to present myself to the world. And only at a certain point would I, share certain aspects of my personality. I mean, that's also part of, like, why I have my Patreon. Is like, okay, I don't always share my full personality online, and the folks who decide to become patrons will get to see other aspects of myself, of the things that I'm interested in, of, like, where I get my inspiration, things like that I wouldn't normally share online, because, like, social media is such a huge part of our world, and again, I think it just comes down to like, the world is not entitled to our full selves. Like, you get to choose what you give out.
See, I don't. It's not that I don't think about it that way. It's more that I've never realized that's a dimension in which I could go to. You know what I mean? Like, I've never sat down and thought, everyone I interact with is only going to get a modicum of my personality.
Yeah.
The way I generally live is like, you're getting 100% of it. And if you don't like it, then, I mean, kitchen, get out. Too hot for you.
Yeah.
Mix those words around. They make a saying. So, for anyone who would be asking the question, how do I start advertising?
Yeah.
What would your answer be to them? How do I start getting myself out there because I want to sell some of my work? Not just to friends and family, maybe a step above that.
Yeah. Well, I think because in this conversation I'm specifically thinking about like, okay, you're about to do a store update.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about it less in terms of overall, like, how do you start marketing? But like, let's say you're getting ready to do a store update and it's like, okay, how do I let people know? So on a more short-term thing. So if I were to say, I guess, answering your question,
Yeah.
I would say the biggest things are talk about your work.
Of course.
Which is what I kind of would have said earlier. Tease your work.
Tease your
meaning
tease
like
your customers.
Yes, tease them. Dante started showing some skin, or rather some undershirt, which is, you know, basically the same because you have so many layers.
I got weird nipples.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh my God.
Weird.
Oh my God. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. By teasing your work, I mean, in teasing your work, there's a few different ways that you can do that. You can either show a few at a time, like maybe 7 days out. You know, every day you post a different picture of a new piece. Or you can do something where it's like you announce that you're going to be doing this update, and then a couple days before the update, you say, okay, update preview is live, and then you post them on your stories, or you post it as a reel. Or you can do what I have started doing, which is when you get to the point where you want to start building a newsletter, which I kind of started relatively... A newsletter, yes, I know.
You're insane.
So the reason that I have a newsletter is because it's essentially a buffer against the changing tides of algorithms. So it's like, once I have somebody's email, and of course you can unsubscribe anytime, but it's a way to be in more direct contact with people without having to go through a social media
That's fair.
third party.
Yeah, I hate doing that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's just... It just makes sense. I've only recently started building my my newsletter, but what I do is, so if I were to say like a timeline, 7 to 10 days before you have your update, you announce that there's going to be an update.
Okay.
And you can put a timer on your Instagram stories, and I think they're actually letting you put them on reels and posts now, like the actual little timer. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
they do.
Go ahead.
I try and do it at least a week beforehand.
So you can do that, and that's like, okay, that's to at least start getting people notified, okay, this thing's gonna be happening. And then the evening before I release the update, a couple days before I do my Etsy update preview newsletter, I announce on my Instagram, and usually it's in my stories, I say, hey, just so you guys know, if you wanna sign up for my newsletter, you'll get a preview of everything that will be available in the update. And then the evening before the update, I on my website, I post the Etsy update, everything that will be in the update, but it's password protected. So the only people who can see it are people who have received the password and through my newsletter.
I see.
Now, if you don't have a newsletter, again, like if you're just starting out, what I used to do is I would, the day before the update, I would post everything that would be available in my Instagram stories so people can browse through. And again, all of that is building towards excitement. So hopefully, I guess to recap, since that was a long answer.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. It was a long answer to a short question. So essentially, if I were to break it down into its most simple elements, I would say 7 to 10 days before the update, announce that there's going to be an update. Make a post about it, either as a regular post or as a reel, and say something on your stories. That's 7 to 10 days.
As a starting point.
As like a starting point. 7 to 10 days beforehand, announce that that's going to be happening.
Okay.
In the intervening time, maybe post 3 preview pictures to show people, say like, hey, this is what's going to be, this is an example of something that's going to be in the update.
Okay.
during that time, talk about your piece, talk about why you like it, why you're doing this series, and that can kind of help people connect to the piece a little bit more, and it builds excitement.
Got it.
Then the last thing is post a full preview of everything that will be available. You can just take pictures, because I'm assuming folks are already kind of taking pictures.
Yeah, you should be taking pictures.
Yeah, you should be taking pictures of all your pieces, and just post that to your Instagram stories, and then make another post that says, Etsy update preview is live. Go have a look in my stories, or you can also post them in your stories and post a reel. So all things considered, you're only talking about 5 posts. The one 7 to 10 days beforehand, the 3 teaser posts, and then the preview post.
Right.
And that's if you don't have a newsletter.
So there's one little tip that I think I would have for a lot of people out there. One thing that you should know, especially as someone who takes your own pictures of your own work, is that you need to learn how to edit your own stuff. Like, at some level, you're gonna have to learn how to do lighting, get you an application, get Photoshop, get Snapseed, and start to like play with the lighting a little bit. Make sure that you have good natural lighting for a lot of your pots. Don't try to sell your pots on Etsy when it's raining and it's cloudy and you have no light behind you and you take a picture, unless you're going for that vibe.
Actually, yeah, because I was going to say,
Which is good.
my favorite days to photograph work are actually when it's cloudy and rainy outside.
Because you're insane.
Because it's a diffused light. So what I do is I'm very lucky that like I have very wide like windows. So there's a lot of natural light that comes into the studio. So I just put down like wood planks, have the diffused light coming in from outside, and I just take a picture.
I cannot stand unnatural light. I can't stand it. I only want the sun. I only want the sun when it comes time for light. Like, I want direct light on my pots with the camera like this far away. I want to catch all the goodness in the glaze matrix. Like, but whenever I do it with like fake light or like backlight, halo lights even, I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah. Ideally, you want the most natural light.
Yeah.
And
good
also,
angles.
yeah, good.
Gotta get them good. Gotta get them
angles.
Gotta get up
Anyway.
them angles.
But
His last joke
yeah.
before he died.
Oh God. But yeah, I agree with you. But it's also like, I think it's not like you have to become an expert at Photoshop. Like, I think ideally you should only be editing your photos like a little bit.
I do the contrast.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, I do contrast just because sometimes it's too light or too dark. And that's pretty much all I do. But I'll never take a blue and make it like 1,000 times more blue just so you want to buy it.
Yeah.
That's That's lying to me. I don't like doing that.
Yeah. Another thing too is that since reels are becoming so popular, in addition to taking photos, you can also just like take a video of you just holding the pot and like moving it around.
You do also have to realize how the algorithm works in or not in your favor. Like, for example, Instagram really wants you to post reels.
Yeah.
But that's just a TikTok.
It's basically
a TikTok, is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So what I generally do is I make a TikTok, I take it, I save it, it's mine, I can do whatever I want with it, and then I post it as a reel on Instagram like a couple days later. But the algorithm doesn't go, oh, that one post was for that one social media. Instagram goes, that was a reel. And TikTok goes, that was a video.
Yeah.
You know?
The other thing that you can do too is that you can, like what I like to do is I like to do the reverse order.
Yeah.
So I'll make it on Instagram first and then post it to TikTok. Because if you make it on TikTok first and then download it, it's always going to have that little TikTok icon.
That's fair.
So if you repost it to Instagram, people are going to go, oh, well, it was just on TikTok.
That's fair.
Which is also fine. I mean, you can do it either way.
I do it reverse, but that's just because I want people from my Instagram to know I have TikTok.
Yeah.
But like,
and that makes sense.
You know, just however you want to flip, but be aware that it will be there in the corner showing.
And you can, but I think what I'm hearing is the point is that you can use the same material across multiple platforms, and that makes marketing in general easier for you. Yeah.
Way easier.
Yeah. Another thing too, speaking of the algorithm, is that since the algorithm likes engagement, one of the things that I've tried to start doing a little bit more often is asking questions. So
that helps a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I post a reel, usually either in the first line or like sometimes I'll post it a little bit farther down, but I'll just ask like, oh, like, what do you think? Or I posted a couple different kinds of cups that were in the same series. And I post them like a few days apart, and I was like, oh, like, which one do you like better? This one or the one I posted a couple days ago? And that gets people emotionally more engaged. I mean, I notice it for myself when I'm looking at other creators who are asking questions. I'm like, oh, let me answer. Because sometimes I feel like weird just being like, well, they didn't ask for my opinion. Like, what all do I say other than like, amazing, heart eyes or whatever.
You and I are so different.
Yeah.
You're so different. Because you're like, oh, they didn't ask my opinion, so I won't give it. I'm like, I'm gonna put this question here so you give me your opinion because it feeds the algorithm. I don't give a f- what you think. I need them comments though.
No. I mean, when it's my own pieces, absolutely, I agree with you. Like, I agree with, like, I feel fine because again, we have to be realists in acknowledging that, like, okay, the algorithm determines our business, so we have to understand what works. So I have no problem, like, asking a question because I know that it helps people become more engaged and more interested. It's more so that when I'm looking at other people's work, if they don't ask a question in their piece, I'm way less likely to write something.
Agreed.
Just because sometimes it feels weird to just be like, bleh, comment, you know? I'd rather respond to a question. So I think it's the same for other people as well.
I'm so sorry.
So what about you? So it's like I kind of went through
don't make me talk.
I'm gonna make you talk.
Don't make me talk.
At least for a little bit, because I want people to hear, since you and I have very different approaches to, like, our business practices sometimes. So I'm my favorite marketing thing is I love the story behind. I like talking about the stories behind my work, the process. Like, I like going into that kind of thing, but you don't really talk about your specific pieces as much. So when you're getting ready to do an update, how do you approach that? And then what advice would you give to others who are looking for some tips to do the same?
I think the advice that I would give to someone who's starting to sell their work or trying to break into the world of advertising, because after a while it starts to roll. Mm-hmm. Like, after so many subscribers, people will start to kind of roll your work and share your work based on the work you do for them and vice versa. But I think the only real advice I would give, in all honesty, is, like, keep doing what you're doing and getting better at the one thing until someone notices. You know what I mean? Like, keep taking pictures. At some level, you're gonna have to kind of become a picture editor. Keep making videos. At some level, you're gonna have to edit videos. Like, you're gonna gain these skills over time from doing the same thing over and over again until you get good enough at them to where other people notice. Mm-hmm. You know, it sounds strange, but, like, I know how to edit pictures, I know how to edit video, I know how to edit music at this point, right? Like, I know how to do 3 different skills, which by themselves would all be considered jobs. You know what I mean? But, like, as people who sell a physical artwork, after we craft the thing, and not just the picture or the sound itself or the video itself, we have to learn how to do video, sound, picture. You know what I mean? You're going to have to gain those skills. Yeah. So when you decide to advertise, you really have the good color and the good sound and the good video. You want to make a really good video, you might want to get a tiny bit of video editing skill, even if it's just on your phone, in your background. Mm-hmm. That's my main suggestion.
And also know that when you start out, because even just hearing that makes me think, oh, but then I have to be excellent before I post anything.
You don't have
to. You know that, and the more you do all of this, the better you will get.
That's my point. You keep doing it, you will get better.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah. And it's also like, because how do I say? Because I don't want to sound like a super contrarian, but I'm also like, okay, like, get good until somebody notices, but also, like, to get noticed, that means... that means not even just the quality of your work, because frankly, I think, like, I think sometimes your business success is sometimes less based on your skill and more based on your marketing skills, because like you obviously you have to be good, because otherwise, like, people will not consistently buy your work, I think. Yeah. At least at this point, I'm frankly just repeating things that I've heard from other business advisors. But it's also like, because, you know, my work, all things considered, like, yes, I am a skilled person, but I am not a master of ceramic arts.
Right, yeah.
And so, yes, you have to get good at your craft, at your art, whatever you are making. But at the same time, just making good art is not enough to be successful financially.
You really can't just make the work and then tell people, I have work to buy, and they go, oh, okay, I'll buy it. Like, it does not work that way, really.
Yeah.
Making the work itself and making it good quality and getting really good at your work, making sure it's ergonomic and craft and to an extent beautiful or has a certain aesthetic to it, is like the baseline of selling your work. Because after you get good at making your work, then you have to get good at advertising your work. And advertising your work is what encompasses, like, you're going to have to take a couple pictures. You're going to have to make a video. You're going to have to do some sound effects. You're going to have to make a TikTok. You're going to have to post on Instagram and social media every once in a while. Like,
I would argue those two things come together.
You would, you nerd.
I know. Well, because it's like, honestly, because when I look at the work, when I first started selling, You know, like it was not as good as the work I make now. So it's not like.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because
you just have to be good at a certain level.
Yeah, like you have to make something that is okay. Like if your goal is to sell functional ceramic art, functional pottery, you have to at least be able to make a functional cup. Whether it's good, you know, by whoever's standard is a whole different thing. I guess I'm speaking to my younger self because in my mind, I tend, as someone who leans towards being a perfectionist, my thought is that, okay, if I thought I have to get good first and then I can start marketing, I wouldn't have a business right now because I would still think, oh, well, I'm not good enough yet. So at some point it is just about starting. Like, yes, you know that that you are making a piece that is functional, you know, again, start selling to friends and family first. That's always kind of a good kind of starting point.
Yeah.
But know that you don't have to be a master at your craft to begin the marketing journey and to begin selling your work. And I know that's a broader picture kind of thing.
You're right. You're right, but I think to kind of redefine what I was saying is I don't think you have to be like a master in order to start selling. Like the mindset of I'm not good enough for 4 years, you know, isn't exactly what I'm pointing at. I'm pointing at like the person who just bought a kiln and has never done pottery in their whole life listening to this and they just made like their first cup. That cup is probably going to be lopsided and have jagged edges. Like, let's be, I'm going to be realistic with you.
It's the beautiful first pots that all of us have.
I'm going to be realistic with you. The person who's like, I can start a business. I don't think it's a generational thing. I think it's just an overabundance of confidence thing. But I always meet a subset of younger people on social media who ask me like, how do I start selling my work? And then I go, okay, let me see your work. And they're like, oh, I don't throw pottery. And I'm like, do you just want to make money doing a thing? And they're like, yeah. And I thought pottery would be easy. Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, and it's not to say their work couldn't be good or it can't be good, but what I mean to say is I meet a lot of people who are gung-ho about selling their work just because they made like their first 50 pots, and now they're like, how do I sell my work? And my answer is to be the bad guy and always be like, it's not really good. Sorry. Like, I'm really sorry, but like, it's very clear to me, like, you didn't like smooth out your edges, you didn't like even wipe down your bottoms, the glaze is running, like you have year one pots, my guy, and I hate to be the bad guy and tell you that, but in all reality, your work is very clearly not functional yet. Like, I would cut myself drinking off that.
Oh.
I mean, like, bad. I'm not talking about people who are just kind of okay. If you're listening to this going, wow, he's really gatekeepy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who like just began and their idea is to shoot for the stars. Great energy. Keep it. Keep it all throughout the 5 years that you're going to keep doing this project.
Yeah.
And for the rest of your life and keep improving.
Yeah.
But I don't want to drink off your jagged mom world's best dad mug. Like I don't. Sorry. I wouldn't put that on Etsy. I'll be honest with you. Okay. I'm sorry. So when I mean you have to get good at a base level, I mean, like, your work has to be at least the bare minimum of, like, wiped down, functional, you know what I mean? Like, not crooked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless it's an aesthetic choice where you're sculpting something. Like, I think you get my drift.
Yeah. So for you, do you have any sort of timeline that you have when you're about to do a shop update, a store update online? Do you change your marketing online strategy when you're about to do an update versus your normal thing, or do you kind of just have your general way that you post on social media and then you just kind of integrate?
I ramp up. So we just ended the holiday season. I'm not advertising or doing anything right now. I haven't posted on Instagram for like a week.
Yeah.
And that's usually I don't do that. But if I was like, I have a store update coming in February. Somewhere in the mid of January, I'm gonna start telling people like, hey, new store update, February, this date. I'm gonna start glazing stuff, preparing stuff, taking photos. You know, like I'm gonna start ramping up. And as it gets closer to February, I'm gonna start talking more and posting more about it and getting my boxes from USPS and getting packing materials. Like I ramp up pretty hard, but right now it's dead. Right now, all the things you needed to buy for your family and yourself are probably bought.
Okay.
If you were planning to buy, like you probably did it right now. So generally speaking, that's what I do as far as advertising goes. I just ramp up as it gets closer to the day, and then I kind of drop off.
Okay, yeah.
And then I ramp up again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't keep the same, gotta post once every other day, every single day. Like, I don't do that all throughout the year.
Yeah.
My real fans will usually wait for me.
That kind of shows that for folks who are worried about oversaturating or being like an annoying, like, hey, sell my or buy my stuff. The fact that it does kind of comes and goes, I think helps show that people are getting a break from the more marketing, like buy my work type of heavy type of marketing. So there's going to be an ebb and flow to how often you're doing the, hey, like buy my stuff, so that it's not going to be like that all the time.
Yeah, like
and I think that will help.
Like for a lot of us crafters, we don't really make like Valentine's Day stuff. You know what I mean? So like you'll notice during Valentine's Day, a lot of potters aren't like Valentine's Day special. Oh yeah, yeah. Like we don't really do that. But like, you know, during like Halloween and Christmas, we get really into the groove because a lot of us make pumpkin sculptures. We make like Halloween-esque monster type mugs, and we make like Christmas sales and Christmassy things.
Yeah. Well, some people also do Valentine's Day stuff.
Some people are wrong. Some people are bad people.
Oh, okay, all right.
How about that?
Yeah, all right,
How about
Donte.
those apples?
Okay, so now we get to thank our patrons for this month. Yeah, I'm super excited. So
I'm sorry I made that face to you just now.
it's okay. I'm just gonna like freeze frame it, and that'll be the thumbnail for the studio. Exactly. All right. So we would like to thank Natalie Curry, Kokayla, and I'm gonna say this last one too because it's my mom. I want to thank Francie Dillon, who has always been there to support me. So to our most glorious patrons, may your enemies fall before you. And may the new year bring glory to your kin. And if you'd like to support me, and through that, support the Mud Peddlers, you can go to patreon.com and search Lindsay M. Dillon. Link in my bio on Instagram.
You can hit that button.
Show notes! Show notes too. Link in the show. That's easier. Link in the show notes.
Hit that little button.
Yeah, hit the button. Okay, alright, that's good.
Hit that button.